Think about your favorite game. How much do you really know about it? Have you memorized the boss patterns, and do you know the shortcuts and secrets like the back of your hand? Do you remember where to find all those hidden collectibles better than you remember your coworkers' names? Because there's a fair shot that you might not know that game as well as you thought, and you haven't quite cracked it open until you've played it like a speedrunner. Friends and folks, welcome to Flyover Culture, your guided tour of pop culture and entertainment in the Midwest. I'm Peyton Knobloch. Video games are good, but they could be faster. That's where speedrunning comes in. Runners from all over the globe work together to find new routes and techniques to complete their favorite games as quickly as possible, and then compete against each other for the world record. To a filthy casual like myself, it's witchcraft, I say, but to a runner, it's, practice and dedication and focus and all that boring stuff. When you watch a run and you see something like, you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm definitely thinking, what is this? So we spoke with 4 very talented runners across the Midwest to hear what got them into the practice of making the rest of us look bad. A common theme? Take a game you loved as a kid and really dissect it.
The first game that I ever speedrun was, I think, Luigi's Mansion, which I did not do for very long, but I did do it. I would just look up, a random run. I didn't go for the world record run, but I just looked up a run, and then, I just kind of watched the whole thing, took some notes, and then walked through the game and tried to replicate it. And then when I couldn't do anything of that sort, you hop in the forum and you see if anyone's able to help you or anything like that.
LilAggy from Central Indiana runs the 2019 hit Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, and at the time of this recording is the world record holder and the only person to ever complete the game in under 20 minutes.
I think I actually just got it.
This game's so hard that I'd personally argue there's no real casual way to play it, but Aggie says the speedrunning skill set is totally different from beating the standard game.
I would say Sekiro is almost harder casually than it is to speedrun. I mean, they're 2 entirely different beasts, but with speedrunning, you at least have an idea of what's coming at you and what you need to do, whereas casually, you have no idea what's happening and you're just desperately trying to get through the game.
In just one game, there are a number of ways to run it. Glitchless is exactly what it sounds like. 100% runs are for the completionists out there. And any percent typically means rolling credits by any means necessary.
Yes! Oui, il l'a fait enfin!
Other runners focus more on level and score-based games, like Helix. They're a runner from the Twin Cities area who runs a few games, but especially Super Monkey Ball.
The skill ceiling is absolutely massive. It is so precise and you can always go just a little bit faster. It also has a extremely robust practice mode. Every level in the game you can access from the practice mode and just play it over and over and over. It's way ahead of its time in that, because this is a game from 2001 and it has a practice mode like that. You can retry instantly. The first 2 are the main ones I run. Super Monkey Ball one will always be my home. I think I like the level design in that one a bit more. It feels like it's easier to go faster without sort of having your run completely ruined by different smaller things.
Platformers and action games and games about apes trapped in plastic spheres are big with speedrunners because they tend to be low on something called random number generation, or RNG. Essentially, you want to mitigate as many unwelcome surprises as you can. But theurbandear, a runner from Bloomington, Indiana, leans into it with his game of choice, 2004's Pikmin 2.
A lot of speed games that you see that are really popular don't have a lot of RNG, so it's kind of just what we use to refer broadly to luck in speed games. And so the other 2 games in the Pikmin series, Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 3, also are kind of more in that vein of the regular speed game where there just isn't a ton of luck. There is some. Pikmin 2 is completely different. The caves, though, are where it gets really interesting and where I think you see the biggest divergence from a standard speed game. And that's because those layouts are procedurally generated. So the game kind of goes through, has a set of essentially puzzle pieces that it kind of tries to fit together. And so obviously you can never have everything memorized. So what we'll do is we'll have kind of a game plan on each sub-level, and so we try to execute that as best as we can. But if RNG or placement of treasures is in a weird spot, then we've got to figure something out on the fly. No run is ever going to be the same as the next.
Sekiro, Monkey Ball, Pikmin, these are 3 very different kinds of games. But what makes a game particularly good to speedrun?
Anything where you have, a good, healthy set of movement options where you can actually get creative with it and you're not just like, walking in a straight line. Anything that has skippable cutscenes is automatically a big bonus. Obviously, glitches and exploits help, but they're not really necessary.
I think I'm naturally drawn to the more level-based format, and I can sort of practice those individually as I need, which I think helps me a lot. A high skill ceiling, like I said, which is what makes Monkey Ball so good, I think that is really important for me. Just having really like fun and satisfying movement, and having some sort of unique tricks, but maybe nothing too terribly complicated.
So it kind of depends, but you might want to follow the Urban Deer's cardinal rule.
I also have a pretty hard and fast rule where I won't speedrun like any of my favorite games. So much like anger can get tied up in like a run not going well, and I don't want to ruin some of my like favorite childhood games for things like that.
Kind of like the speedrunning equivalent of never work in your favorite restaurant. You'd think a hobby where you're constantly beating each other by milliseconds would make the runners resent each other, but that's not true. They really only hate Jared, and he knows what he did. In fact, speedrunning is as much a collaborative effort as it is competitive, if not more so.
No, I think overall it's pretty healthy. Most people in the community, are really happy when people get these great times. I find this in most speedrun communities where it's not player versus player, almost ever. It's always players, plural, versus the game. We're actively working together as a community to achieve the best possible time. Yeah, you want to be the person to get it, but if you're not, that's all right, because you can always still get it. You can keep playing and get it for yourself. But when you see someone finally break that barrier, it's always exciting because 1, it's possible, and 2, it's a great moment for them. Most of us are friends here.
They say practice makes perfect. They also say nobody's perfect, so I think what they probably meant was if at first you don't succeed, have a robot do it for you. I've lost my train of thought. TAS, or tool-assisted speedruns, are different from what you might think of speedrunning in general. Instead of relying on twitch reflexes and frame-perfect button presses, TAS runners spend months writing scripts for a computer player to do all that stuff for them and show off exactly what an absolutely perfect run looks like. Confused? Me too. I'll let Travis McGeehan, aka TiKevin83, explain it better.
TASing being just playing speedruns of video games, but instead of playing them in real time with my hands, I use a script on a computer to like outline line by line what I want to do on every frame. And it kind of works like the way that a lot of the people like to describe it, it's like it's a player piano. If you've ever used a player piano where there's like a roll of inputs that go to the keyboard, it's just like that, but you're sending them to like a virtual keyboard for a computer or controller for a game console.
Travis is based in Michigan and runs classic games like Pokemon, RuneScape, and Backyard Baseball. And with something like Pokemon that feels random, it's less about avoiding RNG entirely and more making it work for you.
The Pokemon speedrunning in general, it uses RNG manipulation. It's very similar to how you approach information security, actually. So if you know anybody who's interested in like computer hacking or other sort of like computer security, it has a very similar aim to that, where you're looking at the game instead of just like, how do I beat this quickly, but also how do I defeat its like way of trying to make things actually feel random and make it not random.
There's probably some people who see a TAS run and think, well, they're not touching the controller or testing their reflexes. Where's the draw? And to Travis, those people are missing the point entirely.
Usually what they're missing is that it takes months and months and months to build that script, because they're in their head, they're thinking this is just an AI. They hit a button and it played the game for them. And they're not realizing it's like, oh, this person sat down in front of a computer for 5 or 6 months, played this game frame by frame, and picked the input to do on every single one of those frames themselves.
If you didn't need an oaf like me to explain speedrunning to you, there's a 100% chance you're probably familiar with games done quick. GDQ is by far the most popular speedrunning series in the country. Each year, Awesome Games Done Quick in January and Summer Games Done Quick in July raise millions of dollars for the Prevent Cancer Foundation and Doctors Without Borders, respectively. They bring in some truly wild runs to do it.
down right, up, right, grab. And then upright and count it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done.
And for Director of Operations Matt Merkel, it is one big undertaking.
We try to avoid running the exact same category of the exact same game multiple times in a row. It's just people want to see something fresh. And also these runs don't generally develop that quickly to where there's something new every 6 months. So we want to try and we only have 150 hours to present runs. We want to give something new and fresh, and we want to give an opportunity for every single runner who plays any different type of game to have an opportunity to get on GDQ.
Just this January, even with everyone still holed up inside, Awesome Games Done Quick raised over $2.75 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation.
We have a grand total at this point of $2,758,847.40, and that was over 42,000 individual donations. So thank you so much, everybody.
And they'll likely repeat that in a couple months with Summer Games Done Quick.
I think it's super important to be able to give back to, the world on a larger scale and, shout, hey, here we are, this is what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome. It's like basically the speedrunning Olympics, really.
But on top of that, GDQ and events like Midwest Speedfest and the European Speedrunner Assembly do invaluable outreach for the scene. All 4 runners I spoke with said GDQ was one of their first big exposures to speedrunning. And it's not out of line to say that GDQ has helped grow the community as a whole.
I like to think that we had at least a small part to play in that, but also Twitch itself and streaming itself played a massive part of that. Just bringing general exposure to those speedruns to the masses was integral in just how much people got exposed and interested in speedrunning. Seeing all these runners now even getting quitting their day jobs to go full-time streaming and speedrunning, and you can't say it hasn't grown if you're seeing that kind of response from it.
Speedrunning is getting bigger and bigger all the time, both in viewership and in runners. But what is it about speedrunning that scratches such a particular itch for some people?
If the game that you're watching is one that you played as a kid, I think that is a big factor for a lot of people. So a lot of people will come in to someone stream and say, "Oh, this was my favorite game when I was a kid," or "I loved this game," or what have you. And so it brings up those feelings of nostalgia, and then also just to see your game that you played as a kid and you struggled with, for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it gets beat in 45 minutes or something like that is, I think, really interesting to watch.
I do website design and other app design using web frameworks as my day job, and I love optimizing things in those day job environments. The TAS aspect of being able to take something and not just optimize it in the sense of playing it over and over again as a human, but really making the perfect run that I can't even optimize this anymore because it's so exact. That's what attracts me to it.
I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, so to go through a game that I love and literally try to perfect it, I think it's really satisfying, especially with the community around it. It's kind of like competitive gaming, but instead of hating each other and yelling at your teammates and your enemies, you all get to yell at the game together, and it's fun because you all have a common goal, and it's just good vibes.
So we've hit on types of games to run, places to run them, and the robo-runners who will eventually rise up against us. But with such a wide variety of games to run and a skill ceiling up in the stratosphere, where do you even start? I wish it were a more exciting answer, but these runners say it's as simple as choosing your game and getting immersed in the community. Oh, and practice.
Look up the speedrun for your game, try to get in contact, try to find people and get in contact with people who run it, so that if you decide that that's something you want to do, you know who to talk to sort of get in the community, because that's the only thing, that these communities can be sometimes hard to find because they're small, they're niche. If you find the game on speedrun.com, maybe there's a link to a Discord, stuff like that.
A lot of people think that we're just complete god gamers that, are just way too good at this game and, we get it perfect every time. But no, it's 99% just practice and determination and repetition. It just builds up as muscle memory. I have about 10,000 attempts at getting a sub 20-minute run. I got one of them that actually did it. But people only see the one, so they think, okay, wow, this guy's good. But I think a lot of people could be better at speedrunning than they think, and they should give it a shot if they're interested, because really, I think anyone can be good at it.
That'll do it for this first episode of Flyover Culture. Huge thanks to Helix, LilAggy, theurbandear, and TiKevin83 for talking with me. We've got links to their Twitch channels down in the description. And a very big thank you to Matt Merkel and the rest of the GDQ team for putting me in touch with those folks. If you dug this, please like and subscribe and do all those things. Stick around, we will be back soon with more cool stuff. Bye now.